back into the studio with Beige again, who is braving some small inconveniences, but still really the truest sense of the word hero as he continues to evolve through his new small challenges, we'll just say, until he gets better. Yeah. We know you'll get there. And then
keep going.
Red had to make a long drive. So real two heroes here again at the studio.
And Pierce, too. I mean, he only shampooed his hair for about 5 minutes today. He cut it early. So.
Well, I mean, if you guys bring it up, I will try to explain to the listening audience the procedures, which usually stay in place for a day or two. I don't wash my hair every day, so I found that works for me. Everybody has different pH balances and oil balances in their hair, but something to think about. I mean, you can do some research online. I hope this helps people. Yeah. Thanks for tuning in again.
Another public service announcement there.
It's funny how as we get older, we really are looking out for the public by just sharing our own pains and our own stories about how to have the right pH balance in your hair. And
it's like what not to do here.
Yeah. And you get what to do, maybe not just by process of elimination of what's bad that we're doing, but also we have some nuggets. I mean, would you agree, Beige?
Yeah. Can't think of any off the top of my head,
but took a while to respond.
I'm gonna say we'll go with that.
From humility. Yeah. We thought we would talk about. We'd introduced this last time. People most of the time are lying. There's a lot of lies that we say in our day-to-day exchanges with people. Maybe not all the time. It might sound goofy to say that, but if you really consider what the extent of a lie could be, it could be an exaggeration. It's something just probably not completely accurate. So we're going to discuss that today. The good, bad, and ugly lies.
Heroes of humility, 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 humility. This is not a charade. This is real. These words you are about to hear are coming from real humans on a mission to save the human race from itself. Buckle up while these delusional heroes of humility, aka hoes, attempt to right the wrongs in everyday human behavior.
How are you guys feeling today? Red's laughing because we had a long pause.
Fantastic.
We're trying to incorporate a pause right after we announce what our topic's going to be because it helps with some of the sound editing and stuff.
Yeah. I think that one time you did a clap or something, right? So that's in lieu of the clap.
And it surprised you guys. You weren't sure. Yeah. That's what we do in the biz. And you'll get familiar. We are probably eventually, I know we've mentioned this before, but on the horizon, if you look into the future of what Heroes of Humility may be able to do, we haven't forgotten about the ambition to video record these things, where we're going to put this on YouTube so that you can see a little bit more of what's happening when we talk. I don't know if it'll be better or worse, but it'll be something.
I do.
This is the kind of thing that's going to, like that pause right there. People may not get to appreciate that unless you were watching it. You just see a glassy-eyed Red or Beige wondering, well, how am I going to hurt Pierce's feelings this time? Like that time where there's nothing happening, you get to see what's happening in real time, and it's a part of human dynamics.
You got to see behind the curtain of the biz.
Yeah, what's going on? I think the eyes are kind of the window, it's true, into something. I don't know if it's the soul, but there's something you can see, and you'll see that when you're watching us and watching our eyes.
I mean, I don't even know what's going on half the time, to be honest with you. So
it comes across.
I know.
It comes across. So lies are things I think that people do incorporate maybe on a lower level conscience. I don't like to say subconscious because I think that's overused, and subconscious can have different connotations. I don't know. What do you guys think? Is there anything what was the last lie you told somebody? And be honest. Don't be a liar.
Don't be a liar again.
I don't know. The first thing that comes to my mind is inevitably when you go to like a gas station to get gas and somebody asks you, hey man, can you spare some change, or you have $1, a couple bucks? And it's always like, no, sorry man, I don't have cash. And whether I looked or I do have cash or not, it's just one of those things that's like puts you in a bad spot to like be opening up your wallet and at a gas station, possibly at night. It's not a good place to put yourself.
I would think most people would accept that kind of a lie. maybe even the guy himself, he's coming to you for help, but I think that's I think there's some acceptability there.
Yeah, I believe so. I'll check the dictionary in my mind. I guess.
But you lied to him. How do you feel about that?
Oh, I don't know. I don't want to say I don't feel bad. But
I think you should a little bit. But.
It's one of those things, though. It's like your judgment, right? My wife always says when you see somebody that has a dog, for some reason, for her, if it's a homeless person and they're asking for money and they have a dog, that really just pulls at her heartstrings. And she's like, "Oh my gosh, they have a dog. What is a dog? I hope the dog's eating okay." I'm like, so you're worried more about the dog eating, having proper nutrition versus the human being? And she's like, "Well, they can go get their own food. The dog can't. I hope." It just makes me feel so sad. And you know what I mean? But it's one of those things. We've all seen it where sometimes I've seen it at Walmart in the parking lot where you see a wife and a kid asking for money, and their family, the rest of the dad and everybody else is at the minivan in the back with all their clothes and stuff. And it's like sometimes they'll put the most tear-jerking people up front to ask for money. I don't know. I guess to probably most, if you see somebody that's probably like could be working or doesn't have a noticeable physical ailment, you kind of makes you go, You know, I will say when we were younger, I noticed that dealing with the homeless population, when somebody would ask you for money at the gas station, it was always like you could tell somebody with a disability or maybe somebody with some mental issues. But it seems like lately it's getting younger and younger people that possibly are having substance abuse problems. And it's like, man, somebody that's 22 or 23 years old that's out on the street, you should be able to work then somehow, some way. I mean, I think back to my younger days, but I guess to the point of the matter, what I'm saying is if you probably would give money to somebody at the gas pump if maybe for some reason that person pulled on your heartstrings versus another. So
yeah, if they maybe if they were holding a dog in each hand, they had two dogs,
two puppies
instead of just one.
Yeah, my wife would just, "Hey, here's my purse, here's my car."
But it would have to be a specific breed, maybe a breed you were kind of
more helpless looking breed, maybe like a poodle who's
not like a pit bull or something, maybe like
an aggressive
little matted hair poodle or something.
My wife always comments on what are the bloodhounds, just because their natural face has kind of like droopy with the sad eyes. It's just like, it's so sad.
That's like a sympathy prop. Dude. That's what that is.
If you're a homeless dude, that's the dog you need to find, because you're gonna. Plus, you probably get some dates. Maybe. Oh,
that's
the
first thing you do.
Girls.
Yeah, you go to the pound and you get the saddest looking dog you can find, dude.
This is gonna sound bad, and I guess this is along the lines of lying. But if you've ever had to be in an area where maybe there are some vagrants or folks that are, I don't know if that's not the right term.
Is that a proper term? I don't know.
Apologies to our listening.
Some housing vagrants. Challenged individuals out there.
Yeah, if you're challenged in a way where you roam the earth looking
a vagabond.
It wasn't a Metallica song once I heard, so I didn't feel as bad. I feel like, hey, if they said it, then it's okay. If you can't trust Metallica, who can you trust to know how to use euphemisms and be politically correct? What was the name of that song? Wherever I May Roam, I think. Yeah. So anyway, I digress again. Yeah, I've noticed that in those populations, there's also a turf situation. So some people have like a better area where they
this
like
is my
to
corner.
Loiter. Yeah. And in order to own that area, you have to be a little bit more 5150-ish than the other 5150s. I apologize. That's a term for somebody that's
break
been...
that down.
That's it's an identifier maybe that's been overly used in code to discuss somebody who might be of this ilk, who might be a little bit crazy.
Non-compos mentis.
Some people have mental issues that maybe lead them into these scenarios, but you're right. Other people, you never know. And I don't think you should necessarily be examining that when you're presented with a situation where you can help somebody. So yeah, I usually will just kind of give a little something, but what I've noticed is when people are in those situations, they have to set up their own boundaries. And if you're the craziest, let's say you see a bunch of guys and you can tell they're not all comfortable because they're on each other's area. And some people work together and others don't. But you'll notice one guy, he's just a little bit more out there. So like, for instance, the other guys are talking and standing around, and one might be okay just kind of doing something that he should be doing in a restroom somewhere. But this guy, he's turning around like a helicopter, and he's making sounds, and it almost looks like he's about to flap his wings and fly off. That's the guy who's saying, this is my turf. If you can be a little crazier than the other guys, people don't mess with you. And I've adopted this a little bit in the way
I can see that
I lie. When
I picked up on that.
Yeah. You guys are trying to do something again, I can tell. Hurtful. But yeah, I think if you can assert your dominance with a little crazy, then people are like, oh, okay, don't mess with Pierce.
Yeah,
like, this is Pierce's area.
You're the alpha crazy guy.
Yeah, you're the alpha 150 guy that people don't quite know what's going to happen. Don't be careful because you don't know what's going to happen with this guy.
Now, think about it like you're trying to get on a public transit, right? And you see some dude like having a weird twitch and there's an empty seat next to him. You're probably not going to take that seat.
I would just throw out, and if he ups it up and he throws a little, once in a while in there. He's going to have he could lay down and take a nap.
I'll stand, thank you.
Yeah. There is a lady that I help and I hope people understand I'm kidding. It's kind of a shame. We shouldn't have to tell people we're kidding. I don't like if you have to say JK at the end of things. I like saying JK sometimes because when it's really obvious that you're kidding. Yeah. But
99% of the time we're JK.
Yeah, this is a JK show. There's a certain times where, what happened to me today is I ate before the podcast. Now, I usually don't do this because I feel like the blood needs to go to my brain instead of to my stomach, and it interrupts my train of thought. So there's a couple of things that happened today. One is I didn't have, you guys brought it up, so I'll say it again, but I didn't have to shower because it wasn't a workout morning. So I knew I could be on time, so I didn't have to. But then, because what happens is Red always says, okay, I'm leaving my house, so we know it'll be at least about an hour. And I always like to say, oh, I just got up, I should be ready in about 2 hours. And I'm laughing my head off when I send that. I just think that's so funny. And
he's expecting an LOL in return.
A little
usually.
Something. And I know that sometimes out of spite, which is another way of lying, you guys don't throw the LOL out because you're afraid to give me the courtesy and because you don't want it to go to my head that I was funny. But it was funny. So I ate this morning. I had my sardines, my sauerkraut with 1 stick of mozzarella cheese. And then I had that on sourdough bread with 2 eggs.
Wow.
And I'll post a picture of this.
Please do.
Yeah. It's really good for you. But I had that in the morning. But I didn't.
Pierce is going to release a recipe book here. So
I like that idea.
It would be I think it would be another PSA.
It's another Heroes of Humility moment. Right
and it would be humble and it would be heroic.
Yes.
So, yeah, we would be helping people. But anyway, yeah. And then what happens is you guys come over and you start talking.
Yeah, how dare we? Jeez.
It's so annoying, dude. You guys talk and talk. We're going to be exhausted before we get to the podcast.
This is a mime. We're supposed to be mimes.
Yeah, just come over. Shut up. Let's get into the studio. And when you're actually going to say some funny stuff, and I'm like, well, let's wait until we get on the podcast.
Pierce was very regimented today. We tried to socialize a little bit, and he's like, studio now.
Yeah, it was kind of pissing me off. Because then also we have things we have to do the rest of the day. Here's the other thing I worry about. Is that I worry that subconsciously we're going to eat so much of the day that your wife, even though she's going to say consciously that it's okay, Red, she's going to eventually start to hate Pierce. Because you have to drive all the way here.
Oh, that's already taken place.
She's throwing
she's
throwing shoes out as we speak right now.
Thank God he gets to go. Just shoes are flying out.
If anybody's been following the show, almost every show now we've discussed our fear and anxiety for Red because he's not allowed to have more than a few pairs of shoes at his house. And the guy wears a size 14.
And he's busting my balls today because he saw, I was like, hey, wait, those are new shoes.
Yeah, he had a new pair of shoes on, and I'm like, dude, did you hide those in the car from your wife so you can change into them? He has to walk barefoot to his car because his wife doesn't let him keep more than a few pairs of shoes because she's into this minimalist thing. Unfortunately, Red, Mrs. Red, if you're listening to the show, you've been targeted a lot. I apologize, but we have
mainly
to look
by
out.
Pierce.
I'm worried about him because he doesn't have the liberties and the constitutional rights to buy and keep the shoes he wants. And look, this guy wears a size 14. So if he finds shoes that fit his freakish feet, he should hold on to those like life itself.
His shoes are so big, he's wearing Hey Dudes right now.
Yeah.
There's like 5 U's in there because they're so large.
Took 5 car tires to me.
Have you ever seen somebody pull their shoe off and pretend like they were talking to it for like a scam? He couldn't even do that because his foot is way too big and it would look too weird. They wouldn't get the joke. It wouldn't look like a phone. It would look like some, I don't know what. But the point is that a lot of things have been thrown. This is what happened. This is what I want you guys to know happens before the podcast. These are the kind of things, and this gets to give you a look.
Pierce is running a tight ship now.
Yeah,
That's
we're trying to run, especially when we start to get on video. We need to be ready. We need to not be exhausted. We need to not have a lot of sardines on our stomach and the blood, because I was saying something and now look, I'm rambling, dude.
Right.
Because I ate before we.
Well, I'll rescue you here for a second. I'm going to bring it back to Red's topic on the homeless person coming up and asking money. I feel like that's an exchange of two people potentially lying.
No, yeah, you're right.
So that's not really like, you shouldn't really, because
they're both
half the time they're like, hey man, I ran out of gas. Like, that's probably a bogus story, right?
Yeah, we're both lying.
We're both lying to each other. So
that's interesting. That's what happens, I think, a lot is we understand the ritual of lying.
Yeah, it's like mutual lying, you know?
We're two people just playing in our lives together. We're like in the balls of, like those games when the kid, you go to take the kids to the thing on
the nasty balls with like the hepatitis.
Yeah,
like,
the petri dish of germs, and all the kids jump in and they understand, okay, we're all lying now. We're all playing in these balls of lies.
I don't even think they allow those. I think those have all been eliminated.
They should be eliminated.
Dude, no, that's survival. We need to bring those back. Like,
True.
More germs.
Yeah, that makes that gives you a really good immune system.
Absolutely.
Damn, look how quick Beige changed his mind, dude. He's so wishy-washy. At first he was no, we should.
Did you ever go into a ball pit as a kid?
What do you think?
I would say we all had to.
Yeah, but no, you asked Pierce. What do you think Pierce has done?
I think young Pierce might have.
That's what I think.
I did my preschool. It was
before hand sanitizer came out.
It was Thunderdome at my preschool. I got exposed to all kinds of germs. I think I even kissed a girl that I shouldn't have been kissing.
In the ball pit?
No, we weren't in the ball pit. It was romantic, dude. It was like in a romantic situation.
It was in the tunnel. Shut up.
Yeah. Do you know that at your preschool, did you have those big cement tunnels?
Yeah, dude, those are cool.
Back in the 80s, bro. That was
Pierce with the humble brag. Like he's some like Casanova, even at like 4 years
I
old,
took
dude.
It to the tunnel.
4 years old, he's this romancer over here, you know?
Oh, I'm sorry. Just because I was making out with girls at 2 years old.
Swap and spit.
Jeez. Oh, pardon me. Sorry, I'm telling the truth again. It sounds like I'm.
Lies.
If a bird flies, is it showing off? If a giraffe can eat the leaves off,
it's
of a
just your
giant
nature.
Tree, is that
Why deny your nature?
Yeah.
Right?
It's just a peacock being a peacock, you know.
If I can't fit this in my pants, is that showing off?
Whoa!
Sorry. If people say you have a third leg, is that wrong?
Show. This is supposed to be PG.
I might have to edit that out.
I'm
sorry, Beauty. Good gosh.
So
we're talking about.
You were
lies
talking
again,
about
right?
making tongue action in a.
Whoa! I didn't say that. No, all that happened was I've always had a thing for. My beauty is exactly the kind of. I just followed my beauty around in a party when I first saw her. I didn't even know what. I didn't
you
even.
Just stalked her.
I just followed her around. Yeah. And then I invited everybody.
You're like, either this is going to work out or I'm getting a restraining order. One of two things is going to happen.
It's all or nothing.
It's all.
It's all good or it's all bad, and it turned out to be all good. And so what I did was I invited a bunch of people. I said, "Hey, the Two Towers is going to be playing. You know, the new Lord of the Rings. Has anybody anybody seen that?" And I started a conversation. Everybody was engaged, and it was they were like, "Oh, what's?" And then I made sure that Beauty was a part of this conversation. I made sure Beauty was going to go to the movies. And then when we showed up, now she likes to tell the story. And in no offense, it just happens that I like women, okay?
So wait, let me get this straight. So you put out a mass invite to go see
There was a bunch
of
dudes. There was some dudes and girls. It was a co-ed conversation. Mm-hmm. And what happened, and Beauty tells the story with a little bit more.
I think she has a different version. Yeah.
A little
but
panache.
There was a couple of guys that showed up, and I think and one of them called me a couple times, and she likes to make fun of this because she says that he thought we were going out on a date. But what ended up happening is when he saw the passion and the heat between me and Beauty, he said, I think I got to get going, guys. So I'm going to get going. I didn't realize how long the movie was going to be.
So he ended up feeling like a third wheel.
Yeah. So it was just me and Beauty, and we've been together ever since. It was a magical. Wow. So I guess what you could say is I'm pretty smooth, humble brag. But this started back in preschool. I didn't mean to. Yeah, I guess.
You got married off of a Lord of the Rings movie, dude. Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
That's one way to live your life, and that's the way I did it. Yeah. So I just in the preschool there was those tunnels, and I saw somebody and they looked like Beauty. They had blonde hair, and they the light was glistening off their hair, and I was like, wow, I've never seen hair like that. Hair is a thing for me. Like I do have kind of a. Mm-hmm. That's why I aspire to have the best hair that I can.
You like your women with hair, is what you're
with
saying.
good hair,
Yeah.
like shiny, lustrous, not a lot of product.
Like blonde too, right? You're
blonde,
partial to blonde.
Yeah, I like partial to blonde. Yeah, we really derailed. But yeah, it's kind of like just, the things that you kind of say that are little lies to some lies. I think people understand they're coming. And then it's not bad because you guys are both playing in the ball of lies, the games of lies. But I mean, when does it get
and as long as they're minor lies, I guess, right? Like nobody's really getting hurt here by it. It's just like how many times have people not wanted to do something and then you're like, oh man, I'm busy or I got this going on or that going on. You're really probably just sitting on your ass, you know?
You just don't want to hang out with
peers.
You just say that. Well, I didn't want to say with me because I haven't had that one happen before. I was trying to bait you into saying that. Negative talk is a bad thing you do in your mind where you just think the worst of the situations, and that would be the worst. Oh, this guy just doesn't want to.
But I mean, how many people, like, if somebody wants to do something, you're just like, not that you don't like the other person, you don't want to hang out. I just feel like being lazy today. I'm just tired. I just don't want to do anything,
Yeah.
And instead of saying, no, bro, I don't want to do anything.
Because
you just say, I'm busy. I got something going on or whatever. I mean, I try not to do that anymore. I mean, the older I get, I try to be more honest about everything. But there's been times in my past I've just been like, oh, this or that or whatever, just because it's a simple lie. It's not hurting anybody really. You know what I mean?
Is it a lie when you see somebody's text and you don't respond? Because you're lying about the fact that you saw it or that you don't. Isn't that kind of a lie too? Do you think? Or?
I mean, I don't think. I mean, the thing with texting now, right? Like in this modern age, everybody's on their phone 24/7. So like if you text somebody and you don't get a text back, that person saw that text.
Yeah, they're lying.
Because
they didn't admit they're not responding in an earnest way. An earnest way, I think, would be
it's just showing lack of interest too, I guess.
Yeah,
right?
and lack of maybe being human.
Oh
no, I'm just kidding.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a little hard.
But I think it differentiates.
Is that too harsh?
Like, sometimes, especially. I was just traveling recently on an airplane, but you turn your phone off or it's a long text and maybe you want to reply, but you don't have the time to maybe think of a good reply. So you look at it. Okay, I will when I have a second more to delve into that thought, I'll reply. But then, like always, what happens? Life gets in the way, and before you know, you forget it. It's been a couple hours. Or we always have, it's inevitable. I don't care who you are. You always have either a friend or a family member that you have in your life that you like to spend time with, but it's never a short time. I could say, like my middle sister, when we talk on the phone, it's never, both of us will say, okay, yeah, we only got 15 minutes for this phone call. And then it's a 2-hour phone call. She lives out of state. So when we talk, sometimes it can be long. And so we both say, okay, we're not going to make this long to where, oh, shoot, she's calling me. I don't have 2 hours to talk. You know what I mean? So you kind of like,
I got a question. What have you noticed that I bet there are differences in the nomenclature or like the social rules or etiquette for the type of person you might lie to? The relationship you have with that person has probably different rules for your capacity or ability or tactics to lie to them versus somebody else.
Well, I think back to like the text thing, right? Like it's different between friends. If you go a little while without texting the person back, generally your friend kind of understands and gives you grace and stuff like that. Yeah. And it's just, okay, we're fine. We're cool still. But if you're like dating somebody and you're starting to talk to somebody, then you're kind of always on like thin ice. You know what I mean?
It's true, right? Why?
Like you better be responsive on the text. You better. So it does depend on the relationship in a lot of ways too.
Like especially if you're that honeymoon phase where you better do everything right, man. At any time you could be.
One misstep, dude. You get the axe.
You didn't get a 10 today on your etiquette in the honeymoon stage of our relationship. So I'm giving you like a 7 because you didn't respond. Like, what's the appropriate response time? What if you didn't I know you saw that.
What if your response wasn't witty enough, funny enough?
I've been burned on the tone, like, the tone on a text. I'm trying to make something funny and then it turns into like a big fight because it's like, damn.
Like it's the way they read it, right?
It's the way they read it. So
I know, and that's why texting's hard, is because it's like you can't convey tone, Well,
that's why I don't like to do our podcast via video. I know a lot of podcasts are done that way, but I think it takes away from what there's a huge component in being in front of somebody. And I also think that you can have a better exchange that way. And I think that might be a reason why, you were saying that there were a lot of people in a younger demographic you saw in struggling situations. This could be anecdotal, but I have a feeling there's a statistic to support it. But when most of your communications are over the phone, whether it's because of an app you're using for a social media thing, or you're working on posting something, you're losing your interdependent tactics and skills that you would be using in person. I bet interviewers, people that interview people professionally for jobs, probably see this a lot, where if you were to compare over time the way that people are able to be competent in exchanges like that, I bet you that's hampered with the onset of constant phone vigilance and social media and things, because people are just not using that skill as much.
I haven't done it yet. Have you guys done a video interview? I haven't had one of those chances yet to do an actual interview, whether it's for a job or for promotion or something like that.
I did during COVID. There was some promotional thing I had to do, and
how did that feel? Because that's one where you can see the other person's body language, but you're not in the same room.
Like, I don't want this to sound like the story I told about how, I happened to be kissing a girl in preschool and it sound like I'm showing off. But in college, this was my major. And I remember thinking about that a little bit when I had this video exchange, because I realized I've got to be more engaging. Like, you have to do more, because it's not going to be up to the people asking you the questions. They're going to be judging you. So they may not realize the disadvantages to you by not being in person, and maybe even simply being on video, but you can do more in person. You could do more with your body, with an exchange that you don't think about. And it shows more, it's more engaging. If you saw somebody being very monotone on a commercial telling you about a product, you would be uninterested if they were very bland. It's hard to be more engaging just on video or just with your voice.
Well, and I think that text messaging is like the lowest form of communication, in my opinion, like the lowest level of engagement with the other person, right? And then you go to a telephone call, that's more engaging. Have you noticed that, me personally, if I talk to somebody on the phone, I can talk for hours, and it's just a good conversation back and forth. Sometimes on text message, it's just kind of like you're playing tennis. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, you go, and then you return it, and I return it to you, and then you return it to me. And it's just kind of like the back and forth like that, as opposed to like on a phone call, it just naturally flows. You know?
I agree, but do you think, I'm curious, and I'll back it up with comment here afterwards, but do you think it's a generational thing?
I mean, I do, because I think the younger generation, they prefer to text. Like, that's their preferred mode of communication, but that's less engaging every step of the way. Obviously, the most engaging is face-to-face in person. And now you have FaceTime and just a regular phone call, and then all the way down to text or social media interaction or something. That to me is kind of the least engaging of all. But I know the younger generation prefers to communicate that way in a lot of times, because you can send like funny memes, and you can do other stuff via text that you couldn't do maybe in person.
And you're also, I mean, if you were to, I think I've said this before, so I don't want it to seem repetitive, but if you were to listen or read the way that people spoke in the late 1800s or say late 1700s, or you read a little something that Thomas Jefferson wrote, or you look at the Constitution of the United States, you're going to see people were way more adept with language. They spoke in almost a poetic way, and it wasn't all superfluous. It conveyed something that was more meaningful than if it was just a couple of symbols. And that is being lost too, I think, with the overuse, because also it doesn't allow the listener or the observer to evaluate the symbols as carefully or as critically. Everything is more instantaneous and has to be quicker. And so we're almost down to just grunts. It's like when you see people at the gym, we've talked about that, where it's just down to people are barely saying a word, and we've said this, like this guy wanted this equipment I was on, and neither one of us are assuming that we can hear each other, because maybe one of us has stuff in our ears, or the music's loud in the gym. So I just look at the equipment, and I point at the equipment, and now we're just like caveman, and it's just weird.
No, but we could probably think about like the future from now with AI and embed a chip in our brain, and I could just go, I want to send a text or message to Pierce, and I can think about it, and it just sends a blip to your freaking AI chip in your head, and you get the message. I can just think about it. You know what I mean? Versus, because I'll tell you, like with kind of going back to what Beige said, when I have communication with my dad from, of course, a different generation. His text messages are just kind of like one or two different words. But again, then if he prefers you to call, but you don't always have time to call like during the week, during the day. Like, just send me a message. Hey, I'm going to come over on Sunday. Because to me, that elicits a quick, like, okay response. Versus my nephew, I can text him 10 texts in a row. And then I'm like, you know what? This is easier to call. They won't pick up, but then they'll text you. They'll just keep texting you. And you're like, what the hell? This is, I can't relay or can't text fast enough to relay the message. Or sometimes the topic is somewhat complicated. You'd rather actually talk in person than via text.
Well, and the way I view text messages, that's like if you want to just convey pertinent information, like, will you be here in 10 minutes? Yes, I'm on my way, or something like that. Whereas a phone call is like, you're actually trying to engage with the person, have a conversation. And there's, it's that's your intention more so than just like you're tasking. You have a task here that you're trying to complete. And that's what texting is good for, in my opinion, so
I'm impressed by those people that set up their phone so that when they read, this is an Apple thing, I'm pretty sure, so that when they read your text, it'll say read under it. And I'm impressed by people that leave that on, because I'm like, they're willing to put themselves out
This
there.
guy read it and he's still not responding.
Yeah. They're really, they're like living a life of transparency that I don't know that I could live, man.
Yeah.
Because there's all kinds of reasons why you might take your time, but I just was wondering if that was kind of a type of lying,
Well, and it's funny that you bring up, and back to the lying aspect of this, I do think there's something to be said. I think it's easier to lie the less engaging the interaction is. So it's probably harder to lie in person to somebody, as opposed to in text with somebody.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
So that's kind of what sucks about society nowadays, is that everybody texts all the time. So that probably means like the lies are just rampant,
lies.
It's just all lies.
Dude, I have a bad one. I realize, okay, I'm watching something on TV. Maybe it's a Macho Man promo or some
White Snake video.
White Snake video. It could be something important like that. And then I'm peeling a hard-boiled egg. I'm taking the stuff. And Beauty, I said something like, I know what I did with that egg. And the truth is, I don't know where I put it, dude. I could have put that egg on a shelf in the pantry while I was peeling it, or I could have put it somewhere else. And I tell her, no, I was paying attention. Or she says, are you watching that? Because she can hear, and she hears me doing something else. And she says, what are you doing? And when she says, what are you doing? It's already a conviction. It's already an indictment, because I know I'm up to no good. And I say, oh, I'm just peeling my egg, or I'm doing this. But what I'm really doing is I'm not paying attention. I'm doing too many things at once, and I'm just leaving hard-boiled eggs.
Have you ever left an egg somewhere and forgot it, and then it just smells? Yeah. It just starts stinking?
Yeah, I put my phone in the fridge. Yeah.
Wow, dude.
Yeah. And it's because I've got so many things going on. And Beauty's like, so when she hears, she has a sixth sense of knowing when I'm up to no good. And so I lie. I just lie, dude. I say, everything's fine. Like, I'm just making my lunch. And when she says that, I realize I'm in a panic. I'm like, I don't know where I just put that egg.
But see, I think is part of that like a guy thing? Like when a lot of people are like, hey, are you all right? Are you this or that? And most guys are like, no, I'm fine.
Yeah, that's the one we lie about the most.
And that's what we lie about the most, right? Because you don't want to tell the truth, because then it's like, now it's a whole conversation. Now it's like this, and it's just easier to say, no, I'm fine, and then everybody just moves on, And
God forbid we actually tell each other the real answer when that's asked, right?
Yeah, you're like, no, I think I left a hard-boiled egg in the
along with my phone
in the cabinet.
Yeah. Or
no,
I'm busy watching Macho Man right now. That's what I kind of want to say, but then I remember, no, we have to get along. This is the person that I went up to at a party and followed and said, can I just be with you forever? You're magical and I can't take my eyes off you. I need to keep up. I need to
hear angels playing harps every time I see you.
Yeah. Basically. So I need to maintain, I need to be civil with you. I need to be a human with you. I can't just be a jerk. That's not part of.
Right. That's reserved for my friends.
No,
that's just reserved for beige.
The constant lie I usually get in is I'm in group chats with a couple different friends, and they send like Instagram reels or Facebook little clippets or YouTube videos. And then when you get together, you're like, oh, did you see my videos? And yeah.
Oh, that's a good. I have.
Or that lie LOL, dude. Have you ever sent the lie LOL?
Oh, I can't do that.
You're not really LOLing,
yeah,
dude.
I don't like to lie about my LOLs.
Which is good, because now I know if I get one from you, it's legit,
for real, dude. I hate when people say stuff. There's this person. Gosh, how do I? Because if they hear this, so
and he's sitting right across from me. So if he hears
yeah, I'll just won't look at red as I say. No, it wasn't red. It's not you guys. There's somebody that they'll say something, and it's kind of an annoying thing, and then they try to clean it up with an LOL at the end. And it's like, it wasn't even fun. It's not even funny. Why are you saying LOL? And it's really to try to, they're being sarcastic and rude, but they put an LOL at the end of it. So it's like, oh, it's okay.
Or the no offense, and then they're totally offensive.
Yeah.
No, I said no offense.
Yeah.
You know?
That's
so
a
that's on
lie,
you.
then, yeah.
Yeah, that's your bad for taking offense, because I told you there was no offense.
Right.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, I think you smell and you're a douchebag, but no offense.
No offense.
I don't like how you wear boxers. I can smell something. You should get briefs.
Whoa.
But no offense.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's weird. I saw that.
But dude, it's funny that you bring up AI, because I think when we're talking about lies, like, you're going to get to the point where you don't know what is true and what's not true anymore.
Yeah,
you know?
won't be able to
Yeah.
assess.
Like, there could be videos that are totally, like, I've seen videos and I'm like, damn, this looks legit, you know, and it's total AI.
Yeah,
where they have
absolutely.
somebody saying something that they never said, you know?
Oh, I ran into a situation where I was explaining to my family to be careful with certain dietary issues because of oxalate that you can get in spinach. You guys have heard me do. So I was telling this, and I sent them a little clip that I found to illustrate my point. And the stuff that was in the clip, I had done independent research on, so I found it to have veracity. But when I sent it, that was one of my family members was like, oh, that's AI. And I was like, oh my gosh, I think she might be right. But they were using real information because they were trying to get hits. And they were just trying to make it look interesting in their own way. Yeah, everybody is so distrustful now of anything you share that might even be for their own good, that they're like, oh, that's just, and they just shoot the message or the messenger because they're already discrediting it.
Yeah, anytime there's AI out there, you just assume that that's not real information, and it could be real information, but it's just so hard nowadays to kind of figure out what's true and what's not, you know?
What if it gets to the point where you're like engaging with a human and you're like, was that AI or was I really talking to, like, what am I in a dream?
You're
right
talking
now?
like Matrix stuff?
Yeah. What if this goes into the Matrix, dude?
Oh.
And you could have like, how many decisions could you have and maybe redo? Think about that for a second.
And what's
dude.
the reality? I mean, I think probably one of the biggest lies that I know that you can get into is over food. When you're going over to a friend's house and they're cooking, or you're getting recommended and the friend's with you to go to this restaurant and they're like, oh my God, this is the best restaurant ever. And you go and, oh, isn't this great? And you're like, oh yeah, it's garbage, you know? Like,
well, and that's why, like, I'm worried about like building stuff up too much, because a lot of times people build it up to this point where it's like, it's never going to attain where you think it's at, you know? You built it up too much, dude.
Oh, absolutely. My wife has this friend that she recommended when we go on a vacation. We have this vacation spot in the common, and it's on a beach. This lady recommended that we go to this sandwich place, like a deli place, and so we did. And she was ranting and raving about it. We tried it, and it was garbage. So I told her, I said, hey, when you see your friend, you just let him know, like, I think it's garbage. This is trash, and it was expensive. And she did, and she was just like, I can't believe you guys think so. Now it's like this common thing when I see this friend that she brings up. I thought her recommendation.
So it would have been easier
resentment?
to lie. It would have just been easier to lie.
Yeah,
right?
but thank goodness, like, it's one of those people. To me, it's like restaurants are like underwear, bro. Like, it could be your favorite restaurant ever, and your friend tries it, and they're like, dude, all the food's salty there. I don't like it. So you don't.
It's your individual palate.
Correct.
Really.
So to me, it was just, she thought that place was so great, and it was like, no, sorry, it's terrible. But it's like when going out to lunch with Pierce, it was funny when we used to all work together. Pierce was like, hey, there's this restaurant called Flower Child. They have flaxseed this, or they have this, and you're like, no.
Do they have a hamburger? Like greasy ass hamburger?
There was one time we went though, and I remember people were like, wow, this is actually good. And then I just looked around and I felt vindicated because everybody just looked so freaking stupid.
Was that a lie? Maybe that was a lie.
When you guys are lying to me.
I remember I was dating this girl, and she took me to this kind of like real foo-foo, like a cafe style restaurant. And like the only thing on the menu that I saw was this sandwich that had bacon on it. And I was like, okay, like a BLT. I'm like, okay, cool. It wasn't bacon. There's another...
Fakin', dude.
It wasn't fakin'. There's another name for it. It looks like bacon, but it's not. It's not like imitation bacon.
Is it tofu?
No.
Pork belly?
No, I love pork belly. No, this was like, I don't know. The bacon did not taste like bacon. It looked like bacon, but it wasn't bacon. It tasted like garbage. And it was expensive. And
but you're on a date, so you're on your best behavior, right?
Yeah, like what the freak? Have you guys ever been in that instance when you're on a date or maybe you're new into a relationship with somebody and you go to a place and you're like, oh, this food is horrible, but you're not trying to make a big deal out of it and you might eat it anyways and then your stomach feels like crap.
Man, I don't like doing that. It bothers me more to lie about things like that because I really feel like we're off to a bad start. So I try to really be honest, and especially as I've gotten older.
Then if you continue dating, she'll be like, hey, let's go back to that restaurant you like so much.
You guys have to keep
like,
going.
Damn.
And then she'll be like, that's our restaurant. Yeah. That was our special restaurant.
Get that dish that you love so much with the fake bacon on it.
I'll never forget going to a restaurant with a girl, and we went to a place that has like that Chicago-style pizza, the pan.
Oh, the deep dish?
Deep dish. And I'm a pizza lover, like, oh, pizza's awesome. But the deep dish, dude, I could usually kill like any regular pizza, like New York style, I could kill like 4 or 5 slices. But this place, I had one, and it felt like I just ate a whole brick. And then during the whole date afterwards, it was just like painful. Like, damn. She's like, I'm a bigger guy. She's like, man, you didn't eat very much. Yeah, I guess I just wasn't that hungry type of thing. But it was terrible. And she really liked the restaurant. So I was like, did you want to go back? Yeah, sure. Yeah. But
yeah, that's funny, man.
Well, and I think that's probably when we lie the most, right? Is when somebody asks our opinion of something.
Absolutely.
Especially if it's like a wife or a girlfriend or something. It's, how does this dress make me look or something? It's like... That's a dangerous
like
game. They're setting you up for failure, dude. Anything wrong, anything other than, oh, it makes you look great, like...
That's where lies probably have some utility for good, where you can...
Because we're both existing in this. She's asking you that because she wants you to give her a particular answer.
Yeah. It's almost on the person if they know that what they're asking you only has one answer, but they expect something different.
Exactly.
That's on them at that point. They're wrongdoer in that one.
Yeah,
that's interesting. I don't know. I try not to though, but it's getting easier as I get older too, because there is something liberating about not being too concerned. I've always thought that I've seen it play out too, where I've just found that it's better to be real candid as best I can. If you ever see me avoid a topic, it's because I don't want to lie to you about it. If you ever hear me like try to change the subject, it could be that I don't want to tell you what I think is the truth because I think it might hurt your feelings or whatever,
I can think back to when we were working all together and we had it was pretty cool because the building was kind of crappy, but we all had a bunch of us working together. So there was an opportunity for more of us. I remember these 2 sets of guys that used to always quote this movie that they really loved. The 2 guys loved the movie and they used to always quote this movie. And we were always in a group setting and we were like, oh yeah, they're laughing their ass off. Oh my God, haven't you seen that movie? And you're like, no, bro, like I can't sympathy laugh. Like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So, and if to be part of your clique, I have to see this movie.
Yeah.
I guess
so
I'm not part of your.
You know what I mean? And you feel bad, and then finally, like, dude, I'll have to bring. You got to see this movie. You got to see this movie. It's just so funny. And then so he gave me the Blu-ray, and I watched it with the wife, and we were watching it, and I'm like, yeah, babe, these guys are always quoting this movie. It's got to be hilarious. It's got to be funny because they're always just dying laughing. My wife and I watch it, and we're kind of like, okay, when's the funny part?
Oh no.
And I guess, again, I guess humor's like taste buds. Everybody has their own flavor, right? So, and so you have to give the movie back. And so it's kind of like, oh, hey, how's the movie? Like, you now can get in all the movie quotes. It's like,
yeah. And now you're like Siskel and Ebert.
Yeah, I was like, dude, I just told him straight up. I'm like, dude, it's not my style, I guess. It wasn't funny.
What's upsetting about this?
We can't be friends. We can't be friends.
I think Red forgot, but I think this is a story about me. I think I was the one that was laughing at the movies that he didn't think was funny.
So. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't you. It wasn't you guys. No, because I think we're usually along the same lines. I will say I didn't watch Harry Potter.
Yeah, I haven't seen that. I haven't seen many of those.
Or Lord of the Rings. I'm sorry. Yeah. To me, they merge in the same, but
okay.
That's probably a big faux pas on my part. But yeah. It's not, I guess
You're not into those like kind of like fantasy type movies like that. Huh?
I think I have a little bit of trouble keeping I think fantasy had a little trouble. Sci-fi, I don't mind, but fantasy kind of, I don't know. I guess I even have trouble watching movies that are supposed to be semi, I don't know, legit, and then you watch it and you can kind of see the errors that the film people didn't research their topic well.
Oh, like if it's about a particular profession and it's like there's no like a medical or a law enforcement movie
or even car movies. What's like I had a friend that liked the Fast and the Furious. Oh. You're like, that must be a 25-speed transmission because every time they come back to the car, burn, burn, burn. It's like, wait a second, he keeps shifting. Or if you're watching a movie on like guns or something like that, and it's doing something, you're like, that's not right,
Yeah.
One thing, though, think about it this way. How much did you enjoy the A-Team and Knight Rider? Because when those cars would jump and land and keep driving, you totally believed that. And just think of how much you enjoyed that as a kid. But if you're watching it through the lens of being a little more critical,
jaded adult,
it'd be harder to enjoy that because you'd be like, oh, I know they had to get another car as soon as that thing landed. I don't know. That's hard.
There's definitely because I mean, in all reality, you probably could take a family friend or somebody to a movie that might align with something that you have knowledge about, and you watch it. And you're like, oh, this is crap. They did no independent research on this topic. And your family was, oh, this is the greatest movie ever. It's so cool.
Or they know that you're kind of an expert in that movie. And they're like, oh, well, what do you think? And you don't want to be a buzzkill, right? You don't want to be like, oh, my God, that was so ridiculous. Like, that would never happen.
Yeah, exactly.
But they're like, man, that was awesome. That was great. And if you give them an honest review, you'd be like, oh, well, I guess that movie sucked.
You just crapped all over it.
Right.
I have a lie that I was unwilling to continue because you guys know that as a hobby, I was kind of participated in this. I don't know if you could say it's philanthropy, but it is dressing up and going to hospitals and doing some stuff that you think makes a kid feel better for a few minutes. And because of one of the characters I did, I got to go to that Superman premiere, and we went and watched the movie first, and everybody was talking about how great it was and how they enjoyed it. And I know this will be controversial, and so I was just telling people, yeah, it was good. And I didn't want to...
This is the last one?
Yeah. And I didn't want to be a buzzkill for people that were so worked up about it, wrapped around the axle. Dude, I'm going to say it right here.
Uh-oh.
I'm going to say it right now.
You're going to piss some people off right now.
Here's a humility. I'm sorry, but I really feel like it's time to be honest. I didn't get it, dude. I think there was a lot of missed opportunities. It felt like it was an amalgamation of a lot of AI or marketing or trying to fit a lot of different things together to appeal to...
It didn't stay true to the...
And people think I'm overly critical because I think that Christopher Reeve walked on water and there'll never be a movie like that again. And probably to some extent they're right. But here's the problem, is what made this character so compelling is the exact opposite of what we're talking about. We're talking today about all the reasons why we see lying as a part of humanity. And here was a person, or this alien that came here, that actually had some of the same fallacies, some of the same errors in their own virtue, but they recognize it, and they could have done whatever they wanted because they're powerful. They're like basically all powerful. But instead, his alter ego is exactly his effort to try and do what he thinks he should with his power, which is not to overuse it and to be quiet and to be humble about it. And to me, that's what made that character so compelling. And there's a tiny bit of that, but they undermine it because, first of all, he's not as powerful as the original Superman was in the movie. Spoiler alert, he can be hurt. And then he's got to go outside like a Band-Aid and make sure he gets plenty of sun. Okay, fine. So now you're undermining what made him so different, was that he had these unbelievable powers and he only used them ever. Like, there's no revenge. He fought against that. The Christopher Reeve character was so simple. And I heard him discuss his portrayal of the character. They were sometimes even encouraging him to stand like this or to put his hand on his hips and look more domineering and assertive. But he said, I'm already wearing tights with a red cape. And he said, my portrayal of that character was just to stand there meekly. And that's what embodied that character. And to me, that's what the compelling part of that story is. And at the end of this movie, spoiler alert, they got Supergirl coming in and she's drunk. That's fine. It's their take on something. It's fine. But I just thought that whole movie was it was like when I went to the theater as a kid and I saw that movie with my dad, it was like, wow. And I don't think when I was sitting in the theater, I actually did this. I looked around and I thought, there's kids in here. Like there's certain things I wouldn't want my child to see at that age. And you should be able to take a child to a Superman movie.
Well, and I think
it was a shame, dude.
That's
my
towards kids, yeah.
My thought towards that is like, so the original ones were geared towards probably kids during that time frame.
Yeah.
Now, how many years are we past the original release?
The first Superman.
So we're what, 40
Christmas of
40
'79.
some odd years past that now.
Yeah.
So they're trying to keep up with the kids who grew up on Superman, and they viewed it through a kid's perspective, simple, good, all good, just simply good. There's no like dark side of that.
I mean,
and now they're trying to appeal to those same kids, but now those kids are 50, 60 years old, or 50 years old, let's say. And now they think that they want to see more of like a story as opposed to when they were kids.
I think that what they're trying to do is they're trying to introduce kind of this Batman thing where there's a dark side to everything and every character has to have a dark side to be more interesting.
But see, Batman didn't always used to be like that. Like Michael Keaton wasn't as much that as Christian Bale Batman.
That's true. Yeah, that's
like
true.
Everything is kind of going more towards that way where it's like they're like the anti-hero now. You know?
But I think nostalgic people would appreciate having a character that was just almost all good. And there is no such thing, but that's what made Superman so special, is that it wasn't just he was another guy who has all the same, he does, but what made him special, he was overcoming, like in the Christopher Reeve movie, the first one, everything is done to make him look foolish. He goes to the elevator and people are going up and he wants to go down and they yell at him, or he catches the bullet in the alley to save Lois Lane and he has to look foolish in front of her for it to be believable. And that lack of bravado was what I think the way he tried to play that character was special, because the character was already special. And then, I don't know, they're trying to undermine how powerful it was, and I guess that's to also make him more real, but there was too many other things going on. Even if you're not familiar with the comics, which I'm not, and maybe I would have enjoyed it more if I did. People have mentioned this to me. There's so much going on in that, and it was hard for them to have a cohesive, simple story. I did like the part that he finds out that his parents aren't, I'm sorry there are some spoilers in this, he finds out that his parents weren't really sending a good message with him. They wanted him to kind of conquer and take over. It's really his parents here that raise him that do impart these virtues on him. And that was a cool part of the story. But it was so disjointed because that was lost in all of these greater than necessary, I think, other characters who are also fighting. And they have to have these extraordinary bad guys that have these powers and these other superheroes. And there's so much going on. And it was just the simplicity of, I think, what the character and his story was just lost. It just became too crazy. I thought it was too goofy.
And nobody wants to hear that. So they just want you to say, oh, it was great.
Exactly.
I liked it.
So I had to lie a lot. I had to tell people. And finally, somebody asked and I said, it was a train wreck to me, man. I'm sorry. And people don't want to hear that because I'm sometimes wearing the suit and going to these events.
Blasphemous.
Yeah. And they're like, well, we want, this guy. But I just feel like I'm going to be honest, because that's what happens is it's almost like they're kind of imparting what they want people to enjoy. And they got to hype it. Everybody's got to hype it. And there's a lot of cynicism out there. I don't want to sound like I'm being cynical about this. And you see it in a lot. Everybody is so critical of everything. So I don't mean to do that. There was some good parts of it that I did like, but I just think that there's some things that were missed. And I think it was because of the wrong reasons. They were had the wrong motivations.
But I think I've seen that. I can't attest to what you're saying because I haven't seen the newer Superman, but I've seen many, whether sequels or redos of older movies, that I kind of felt the same way. You like the original so much that you're like, oh yeah, this is finally we're getting, like, I'll give you my example because one of my most all-time favorite movies is Gladiator, and they came out with the sequel. I was like, oh man, I'm so charged. I want to go see it as soon as it comes out. For the most part, the movie I really liked, but the sharks in the stadium in Rome, like, oh yeah, they filled up with seawater, so the sharks were... Dude, you just ruined it. We're talking ancient Greek. It's supposed to be like medieval times, almost kind of like what? You filled the stadium with how? Okay, so the stadium's water, like
I think they
waterproof,
did.
right?
Like some suspension of belief is possible, but when you get to a certain level, you're like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, because the first
Like,
one had tigers that jumped out of the floor. You know what? They were on chains. Okay,
That's possible.
That's possible, right? Like, I could have saw them doing something like that, or had an elephant running around and stomping on people's heads or something. Okay, that could happen, right? But they filled the stadium with seawater, and there were sharks.
Yeah, like why sharks, dude? Like
What?
any other land animal, gorilla, whatever. Like all of that would have been fine, you know?
Yeah, I kind of thought, like, I was just out of the whole thing. I'm like, man, it shouldn't ruin the whole movie, but it was just really.
There is times where you watch it like, this is just stupid.
You know what?
This is just like there's one movie I used to love this movie when I was a kid. The Naked Gun movies, dude.
They're silly. They're funny.
They're
though.
silly.
Yeah.
They're funny back in the day. The new one, I was not a fan of, dude.
Dude, I haven't seen it,
that.
but
I was not a fan because
Is it
it
the
was
same
like
thing?
they're trying to do with the humor and stuff, kind of like they did but I just didn't hit the mark to me, man. It's just the jokes just didn't hit like they did back in the, what was it, Leslie Nielsen or whatever
dude,
back
I
in the
watched
day?
those
Like,
too. Those were hilarious. I
like
used to
those
watch
were hilarious back in the day, man. And I had high hopes with this one. I was just like, you ever see like somebody who's trying to be funny and they're bombing?
Yeah.
Like I kind of felt like that watching that movie. I was like, man, this is kind of
lame.
rough, dude.
Well, you remember liking the original so much that you go see a sequel or a redo, and it doesn't have the same juice. It doesn't have the same energy to it, and if anything, it's more disappointing. And does it make you wonder if you're just getting old and you're turning into your grandparents or your parents of like, what the hell? This is lame.
Yeah.
Like this isn't true to the original.
Or is it just like a money grab? They're just like they're just riding the coattails of what was successful before, and they know if they put a name on it, it's going to be successful again just because they put a name on it. You know,
And I think there's probably people that are down about what they would characterize it as being cynical or old-fashioned, but I think part of the reason that also happens is because you have a wider frame of reference for something that you've seen all of these different iterations, and so you can compare them all, and whether or not you are objective in doing so, you have a large frame of reference. So if you're comparing it to all the Superman movies you've seen, okay, well, one of them is definitely going to probably stand the test of time and stand out in your mind. And it's hard because you are going to kind of compare that a little bit to what they do. And it doesn't have to necessarily be just something shallow about the special effects or this actor versus that one, but it's that story part to me that matters. It's just having a linear story that you can follow that tugs at your heart at some deeper level, and you carry it through so where you want to continue to see what's going to happen to this guy in the next story. Right now, the only thing that can happen in the next story is going to be more fighting, and the characters have to be more fantastical than the last one. And it doesn't seem like there's that many places. Sure, they can carry out their comic storylines, again, that I'm not familiar with, so I'm not going to have enough background on the characters, but I just think that's too bad because there's so many other ways you could have continued to explore what it would be like for a human to have that kind of power and do whatever they wanted, but still trying to be meek and be kind and not overuse their power.
But obviously that was so good. It was a game changer. I remember people were dressing up in costumes for Superman because that movie came out and it was such a like game changer for kids and it was so impressionable. But obviously I guarantee you this summer or this fall, you're not going to see kids dressing up in Superman because it's kind of like, they didn't really care for it. So there's some truth to that to me because like you think back, I remember Jaws back then watching it and dude, anybody that watched it were like, I'm scared to swim in my own swimming pool. And I just watched it the other day and I watched it with my kid. And you're like, that's totally like a robot or a guy standing in a freaking thing moving his arms back and forth.
But does your kid like it? What did your kid think about it? Because he's looking at it through a kid's eyes as opposed to like a jaded adult's eyes.
The funny part is I think the biggest thing, and I think what kind of struck him as, this is not as good, is because, I mean, the special effects nowadays, come on now, they're so freaking good and they're so real.
Yep.
Where back then, that was, I mean, granted, that movie came out way before my time.
Well, that's even like the Star Wars movies, right? If you look at the old Star Wars movies back in the 70s or whatever, and like the new ones, I mean, obviously the special effects are night and day. So.
But the story, I think that's maybe what that's what the point you're getting to. The story,
the writing
was
is so much better.
Because they didn't have the special effects and computer generated this and that. Mm-hmm. The story was what hooked you, right?
Like they're using the special effects as a crutch now, as opposed to relying on good writing.
Well, you know, maybe this would sound unfair, another comparison, but do you think people are going to be discussing this Superman iteration in 40 years, like we are Christopher Reeve's
No way.
Superman.
No way.
Dude, I can't
No
think
way.
of hardly any movies recently that people are going to discuss in 40 years.
Yeah. It's
Like,
just,
I
I
name a
just-
movie that's come out in the last 10 years that people are going to be like 40 years down the road. Like, all the best movies, in my opinion, for me, I mean, a lot of them were made probably in the 90s and early 2000s. Fight Club, Shawshank Redemption's up there for me. But those are like such well-written stories. The storylines are just like amazing.
It wasn't the special effects on why you like them. Because Shawshank is always playing like reruns on TV.
Yeah,
and
but it's just a story.
I happen to catch a little bit of it, and it hooks you. Like all of a sudden, you're like, I don't have time to watch a 2-hour movie, and you're halfway through, and you're like changing channels. Oh, the Shawshank's on. I got 30 minutes. Put it on, and then you're watching it for an hour,
You get
and
it.
you are
You get
tearing up
into it.
again because the guy freaking and you've seen it like 50 times.
Exactly.
And you're like, why am I tearing up again? I've seen this movie. Like, but I mean, again, and that was all story. Like you couldn't help, but it's not like I've been an inmate in a prison and you feel bad because like I've been there.
Right.
But like the
It makes
story
you feel
was
sorry
so
for
good.
people in that situation.
Yeah.
That's pretty
But
incredible.
name a movie in the last 10 years that is like that.
That had
Like
that impact,
I
yeah.
can't think of that, Like you mentioned the Gladiator movie. Nobody's going to that's just forgotten, dude, like
Yeah.
after it's released. Like nobody cares.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of some of that. Like you're right, though. Some of the most modern movies that I walked out of a theater going, "Dang, that was awesome." But no, like even for me, like I don't know why I always kind of like the movies like The Departed, where it wasn't a story from a previous show. You kind of go in like not knowing. You kind of have a rough idea of what it'll be about, but then you watch it and you're just like, "Damn, that was awesome!"
Oh,
like,
yeah.
dude, I'm gonna watch that again and again and again.
Yeah,
think
that's
a
another
really-
one. Goodfellas, another great.
Oh, I
written
love that movie,
That's what I actually like. The special effects, whatever. Like I don't get entranced with that. It's like I need a good story. That's
Correct.
why for me, again, Goodfellas is at the top of my list. Probably Fight Club, and then my one of my personal favorites is 12 Monkeys because it's just like such a crazy storyline, and it's like one of those thinker type movies. Now it's just like if they try to make the thinker type movies, it's so ridiculous that it doesn't even make sense. It's so absurd.
Yeah.
At least back then it was like it was well written. It was it's kind of fantasy in a way, but it's well written to if this scenario happened, this could be real, basically. You know?
yeah.
One of the things that was integral to the story is that Lex Luthor's girlfriend, the reason that they're able to finally identify his wrongdoing,
She's an Instagram model on the new one. Right?
she brings out, she's basically using social media.
Oh, that's her superpower.
And it's
dude.
the social media
Oh, jeez.
aspect that allows them to find out what he's really doing, and that's really what ends up saving the day. It's not even as much about what Superman, and then you've got these other characters that are also fighting, who are commissioned to fight crime, competing with Superman, and then when he shows up, they make jokes to one another about who's going to fight the crime this time, and it's just, dude, it was so, the magic for me was just. But again, I had this frame of reference that maybe some people in a younger audience wouldn't have too. So they're going to go in and seeing this for the first time, and that's going to be their Superman. And that's in some ways, I hope it had some good things, and I'm glad it wasn't. But I thought, man, what a shame, because I wish they would have seen that one that I had, man, that was special. But
Let me ask you this. When you watch, because it's been a while since I've seen, to me, I call it the original Superman. Do you have the same reaction that you did? I imagine being young, even today, I wouldn't say, oh, I'm a Superman guy. But I remember watching that movie, and you would go try to put on bedsheet on your back and try to jump and see if you could fly.
a towel, yeah.
Like, and it's like, okay, cool. It had that impression to you, and it hit the same way. Where, like you said, I don't think we're gonna see kids running around trick or treating with Superman outfits because it didn't have that same hit.
First of all, they're going to lose track of which is the latest costume, because every few years that changes. Reeves' costume stood the test of time. I mean, never mind that there wasn't more iterations between that, but to your point, I think kids have such an instantaneously gratifying menu now available to them, and there has to be such a quick response and stimulus to keep their attention. How many kids would have sat through the story where really Superman only appears on the screen a few times, and most of the movie is not him in that suit. It's all the story. And when I was a kid, I was glued to the screen. In fact, if I go a few years and I go back and watch it, it's still moving to me, because the character is so beautiful, is that he's trying to really help people for the sake of helping people. There's no other reason. And there is a part of that in this one, which I liked that they tried to retain, but there was too many other distractions from that. That's really the story.
But then you have there's other Superman iterations too, right? Like, didn't they release one 10 years ago or something?
Yeah, because then they wanted to go in a different direction, and then they didn't want to use Henry Cavill again. So there's just so many competing things, but I think they're trying to market something that appeals to an audience so that they can more aptly ensure a return on investment. And to do that, they're piecing together things that they think people will like.
But see, and I guess going back to the topic of the show, a lot of times, even an example of that is like, that isn't being true to itself.
Yeah.
Like, that's not being true to what like Superman is. It's all just about what can make us the most money, what's going to appeal to the most amount of people, and what's going to really get us the most cash. You're not even true to the concept of the character anymore.
Well, it's hard
really.
Because you can't have one person's vision that they're being honest about. There's too many people getting to weigh in. And that happened, but when Richard Donner was making that movie, he had to argue, and there were so many disagreements with people who wanted to interject this or that. I mean, at one point, they wanted Christopher Reeve to wear a muscle suit.
Yeah.
And he refused. In fact, the character that played Darth Vader was the one that trained him to get in shape, and he was very skinny, so he just kept doing that. But it was part of what he wanted it to be believable.
Yeah, he wanted a more natural-looking physique as opposed to like this He-Man.
And it wasn't, and of course, if somebody's doing the types of things he's doing, it can't really be about your physique. There's got to be something else going on that allows you to pick up a bus.
Yeah, you have superpowers. Like,
Yeah,
you don't
so it's not, you don't have to.
Yeah, you're not going to have like big, like even the guy with the most muscles in the world is not picking up a bus.
It's ridiculous. Yeah. So he doesn't have to be like that. You know, because of this work, again, I've gone to like Comic-Cons and stuff, and you see people sweating to death wearing these giant muscles. And you're like, it's neat to see people. And it's also cool to see people enjoying themselves and people getting excited of all ages. But I remember one time when I was a kid and my parents got divorced, I used to worry about my sister's Christmases. I wanted her Christmas to be like mine was. And I called my dad so upset about this. And I told him, I said, Dad, I don't want to make you feel bad, but you guys are divorced. And my sister, her Christmases aren't the same, you know? I'd go out into the living room, and I remember one year going out there, and it's not about the presents, but my dad and I would spend hours because the living room was full with presents, and he'd help me put them together. We'd play with them and all. And I don't remember the toys. In fact, that Imperial Shuttle is one of them. And he helped me, and I just remember we spent hours putting that together because my dad was like me, putting stickers on very detailed, and they had to be just right. Well, we had such a blast together, but I just worried about that. And he said, you know, son, your sister isn't going to have that frame of reference. She's only going to know the Christmas that she gets.
She's not going to miss what she never had, basically, right?
And when I hung up, I thought, well, that was so wise. But my dad was also, he had a beautiful mind. He had a capacity, I think, for alleviating some of his own maybe guilt or feelings about inadequacy. And I still had that because I still thought, no, my sister's Christmas isn't going to be as good. So what I wanted to do, I would take the cookies and I would take some cotton and I would just kind of like get up late at night. Because I remember waiting to see if I could see Santa. So I put some like cotton around the cookies and then I'd go up on the roof and I would make sounds and stuff. And I got her to believe in Santa a couple more years. And she'll like still kind of get emotional telling me about this. But it was after I had that conversation with my dad. But
yeah. Well, and the thing is like you had that frame of reference and you really enjoyed your experience. She doesn't have that frame of reference, so she's not missing what she's never had, but you know, for her, based on your experience, it could be much better than what she has. And she doesn't even know it.
That's kind of how I felt about Superman.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to get. That's what I'm sharing with people who might think I'm just being down on. And that's why for a long time I did lie about when people would say, did you like the movie or this and that? And a lot of people would ask me and I'd be like, yeah, it had good parts. You hear that
But do you have, because I'm not in this realm, do you have people that come up to you and say, what Superman are you? Or what generation or what iteration Superman are you representing? And then people say, oh, I like your version better, or hey, oh, I like this other one better?
I don't get a lot of that because because of the suit I wear, it's pretty obvious that it's to the Reeve portrayal. But, you know, sometimes I've seen that happen with other characters, or people will come up and I won't get their comic book characters, so they'll ask me questions and I don't know and they get disappointed. But yeah, no, people usually are very nice, especially at those things, and they will say things that they know aren't off-putting to you. I mean, you've kind of gone to the trouble to put all this on, and maybe to bring attention to a worthy cause, or to get a kid to forget his challenges for a few hours, and kids are so much stronger than, I've been to places where you'll leave there and it'll really hit you for hours. You'll think about what you saw and the children that didn't have, maybe part of their face is missing or some difficult situation. But what you find is that they're really not reveling or being taken down by this. They're doing better than their adult parents, because the parents have their capacity to let go of things is so rooted in reality. A kid, you walk in with a red cape on and looking enough like Superman, and they're there with you. Like they've filled in all of the gaps to get you to where you have to be Superman. And I've had kids ask me, can you just fly so I can fly a little bit? So I've got to think of something creative to say, but they believe it and they want to believe it. And that's why I think they deal with adversity so well.
Well, and like you were mentioning your sister, like she doesn't have any other frame of reference. Some of these kids, like they don't have another frame of reference. Like they're struggling and that's all they know. Yeah. So they don't know. Whereas the parents have a frame of reference.
Yeah.
These other kids that are healthy, these other families and stuff. And so I think that's why, like when they're going through it, it's like that's all they know, and they're just going through it. You know?
My dad was right in that sense. I mean, it did bring me some solace, because my dad was always good at bringing me solace and trying to impart something to me and getting me to stop and think about something critically. Because we shouldn't be as affected by the circumstances. What we end up being affected is how we interpret the circumstances. Is we have control over that. Beige, you're doing a really good job, I think, of the challenges that you're going to get over. But I can tell you really, and I don't know, I'd like to think I could be as good, and I'll be here for you. But I just that's kind of what I saw in these kids. Like I've accepted this is my situation, and it's new to me. I don't know any different, and it's going to be fine. I'm going to deal with it. And they don't know that there might be another kid that doesn't have that issue, or to them. And they're getting to experience some fun things because there's these people coming by in suits, and they're getting these really awesome treatments. And I mean, that urologist you sound like you have, he sounds pretty good, man.
Well, see, and again, we're bringing up lies. I mean, you're dressing up in a Superman costume. You're not Superman.
Right.
So somebody could say, well, that's a lie, and it's like, but that's a good lie.
Yeah.
Like that's when like a lie is good. Situations like that. You're dressing up in this and portraying this character to kids and giving them something really positive in their life.
A good memory. I've had that same thought about Santa Claus. I mean, Santa Claus is a huge lie to some, but there was a person at one point. And what is Santa Claus to me? It's the idea of people doing good, giving something to other people, presents, whatever that might be. So
would you rather have jaded kids who never believed in Santa Claus?
I don't know, man.
I mean, that would be miserable.
I know. And there's a buddy in our circle who I know refuses to tell his kids and portray this idea of Santa Claus, and he just doesn't believe it's right. But I think that, why not? Like, let him have this, Well,
and we all remember when we were kids, like, that was really special. Like, the Christmases up to the age you're, 10 years old or something, those are, like, the best.
17.
Because you're really thinking, until you're 17. Until you're 17 and you catch your mom stuffing the stocking, you're like, oh, crap.
And I put my tooth under my pillow, too, and I wouldn't mind having some Easter eggs by the rabbit when he comes around.
Well, didn't you even do that with your wisdom teeth? And Beauty gave you some money for
I've been holding on to them. I've been holding on to those because I think they're going to really pay off with interest. I still got them, dude.
Teeth are still under the pillow,
I still have my wisdom teeth.
Well, Beauty's on deck for that.
She's going to be a tough one for her.
She's going to have to check under your pillow.
Maybe another Trans Am or something. Something big.
No, but I think there's some truth to that. Like you said, there's some good lies. Like, as you get a certain age, that kind of heard the reality of Santa Claus, and so you're kind of over it, right? But then you have your own kids.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, exactly. And then you have your own kids. But then it's cool to do that for your own kids because you see the joy. Like, it kind of makes it magical. It really does.
Yeah, you're a dad, man.
And what kid's going to go, Dad, you lied to me all those years. I'll never forgive you.
That was traumatic.
Absolutely. But if you think about it, it is creating some magic. And obviously it sets a precedence because here we are. we're all talking about it, and it doesn't matter, oh man, I got the most expensive gift or how much money was spent. It was, oh, my mom made hot cocoa, she put all the marshmallows on top and it would melt in there. Or like my wife making s'mores outside on the little gas camp thing. Like the kids love
like
that
the little
stuff.
traditions that you have, you know, like that are special for those kids. Now, I think nowadays we've kind of gone overboard. This damn elf on the shelf is kind of ridiculous,
Kind of weird.
you know,
Yeah.
and it's like every day you got to think of something new and cool to do, you know, and move this elf around.
Lies.
That's a little much. Like, let's keep it simple, right? That's the thing.
Keep
like
your
the elf
life
on the shelf
simple,
is a big daily lie, dude.
Elaborate,
You know?
man. You got to move that thing.
Yeah.
It's got to do tricks. You got to
Exactly.
show that it's done some kind of trick.
Exactly. You got to like look up Instagram and see little cool things to do with this elf and everything. And it's just like, man, this is
I do have
too
a small
much.
bit of concern too, making a kid think that this inanimate object is moving around at night. I think maybe that would scare some.
That's like
kids.
Chucky, dude.
Yeah, that's kind of goofy, man. I'm not sure about that one.
See, now my wife is a big anti-horror, scary movie.
Me too. Yeah, I agree with her
She's
on
big
that.
on like, because I grew up with older siblings and it was
Horror
Friday the 13th, Freddy Krueger, stuff like that. It's funny because now, like, if even during October, when October comes around and they start having commercials for scary movies, that even like gets my wife covers her eyes and tells my son, put your head down, don't watch it. And he's a teenager. I guess for me, when we watched those as a younger kid at his age, I would be scared, but in the reality, it's like, okay, it's a movie. It's not like nothing more than that.
Well, and that's a rite of passage for boys a lot of times, right? To watch those movies, to kind of like, I went through a stage like that where I was really into those movies. You maybe did too.
Yeah.
And that's just, my son wants to watch like Scream now. And I know what you did last summer and those movies and stuff, you know?
Yeah.
It's a balance, you know, because it's like, I don't want to give him nightmares or nothing, but
I never had that desire. That movie right there on top of those books, Krull, those were like the kind of fantasy movies that I saw when I was a kid. I never had a desire. Now that movie's pretty scary for a kid because they're fighting this beast, and the only way that this guy can destroy this thing is by finding this special weapon that exists up in this magma that's in this mountain, and he has to go find this device. It looks like a giant Chinese throwing star, and when he holds it up, these blades come out of it, and then he's able to throw it, and he can kind of control it with his mind, and then he can get it to come back to him. The whole story is about him trying to get to this beast to kill it with this thing, but the only way he actually destroys the beast is from the help of the people that he meets along the way, and they all unite forces. But that was such a good movie. When I was a kid, those were the kind of movies that captured my imagination, and I didn't want anything to do with these horror movies. So when it was Halloween, a lot of the kids in the neighborhood dressed in characters like that. So they were like superheroes or these fantasy characters, but very few of them were wearing these horror masks and stuff. And now it seems like that's more of the thing. And I'm like, that would be hard for me to get on board with. I don't have a kid, but I don't know, man. I wonder how you guys feel about that with kids. Would you rather there be more like superhero type costumes, portrayals, or what do you think about that horror stuff?
I think it's all peer influence. I think that's probably why my son's into it now. He's got little friends that are into it and stuff, and so that's why you see a lot more now than you did before.
Yeah, that was kind of a tough one because I know for my wife, even when we were dating, before we even had a kid, it was absolutely not. And for me, if it was something good like Friday the 13th, and I mean, let's be honest, it's cheesy. It's especially when you're a young kid. I mean, there was always a version that you'd see where there was a girl running around topless, and that was like the only time you're like, oh yeah, we got, dude, you go to school and you're like, hey, did you see Friday? You
They do that. They do that in those movies, huh? In like
the older
be
ones
some
in the
nudity,
80s, from the 80s, definitely 80s and 90s, or because it was always catching the girl in the shower scene, right? Like,
But they wouldn't show that on the TV version.
yeah, of course not. But it's funny to me that that's one thing with my wife, like absolutely not. But I guess I'll tell you, I remember watching the original Exorcist, but I was definitely a teenager. Even though it's an older movie, I still like makes the hair on the back of your neck stand up. It freaks you out. My wife won't watch it. I'm like, wow, but it's such a good movie if you take it in that aspect and not necessarily the religious aspect, and you watch it as like it's a great movie. Yeah, it's gonna scare you because that's what it's designed to do. That you should see it. Not for her. I think it goes more to the religious ploy of like, if you watch that, you're bringing a certain thing into your
I think too, with the idea of this lying thing, where you have to kind of suspend. You're lying to yourself, not in the same way that you did when you were watching Superman as a kid, but in a way that you're having to believe that this evil really could exist in that way. And I think that I understand your wife in the sense that I don't want to be contemplating evil like that. I don't like that. I do like, I'm sorry, I'm like old fashioned, and I want to see the good guy win at the end. And I'm fine with every movie ending that way. And I'm also fine with every movie having a happy ending. So it's kind of funny. And I bet she's like that in a sense, but I don't know. I guess that's just a personal thing, but
I guess it's like
good and evil, dude.
I guess for me too, I guess it's the knowledge of, you ever like try to study an enemy or somebody that is against what you do and for the knowledge of like,
to
okay,
overcome it.
To whether overcome it or just to know your adversary, to me, like that is knowledge, not like, oh, if I watch this now, I'm turning into that. I guess that would be the good example of, for me, like for my wife, again, you're inviting that into your home if you're watching that type of stuff. So she doesn't like that. To me, obviously it's based off of some real event occurrence and happenings. Like that's pretty notable. And I mean,
well, that's the difference between like a Freddy Krueger type movie and like an Exorcist type movie. One is pure fantasy.
Correct, yeah.
And the other one is like there's some roots and potential that could happen, right?
Yeah,
there's documented exorcisms through the Catholic Church and everything.
Yeah.
Like these things, there's more reality in certain
Correct.
versions, you know. And those are the ones that are scarier to me, is like the stuff about hauntings and the possessions and stuff. That to me is more scary than just the gore slasher films, because that's just
it felt like you just feel like you're watching a play, or it's a production. Like when you go to a movie like that, you're just okay. I'm here in the minute, but then I know it's a fairy tale.
And then the jump scares and stuff like that they try to do. It's just that it's all just to shock you.
Correct.
As opposed to like scare you on a psychological level.
And that's why I think that you make a good point in that, is that like when you watch a Freddy Krueger movie, or you're like, oh yeah, I got scared because he jumped behind the wall, versus you watch The Exorcist and you're like, oh my gosh, like it's
like it messes with you psychologically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's not for me, dude. I just can't. It's hard to get on board with.
Just curious, because I asked my wife the same question, because to me it's kind of like borderline the same. Have you seen The Shining?
No, I know I was with some friends and we watched it because that was a big thing for them too when I was a kid. But I remember really we're all sitting just watching this right now. It was so lame, man. I know that would sit weird with people that think it's a really good movie, but it's so goofy to me. It's like, what are we spending our time on right now?
No, I will say, because it's funny, because like it's good that you have a different opinion. I remember liking it because it was in that era where I was with my older siblings, and my older sibling, she really liked watching these scary movies. So it was like we turned all the lights down in the house, shut the curtains, and we'd be watching it, like all intently, laying on the floor when you actually were young and could lay on the floor without your body hurting. And then she would sometimes like scare you. Oh,
Yeah.
It was just like a scene. Like it was.
Yeah,
cool.
I mean, sometimes people like being scared.
Yeah,
they like that. I like being scared, knowing that there's no real consequences of being scared.
Yeah,
I can watch a scary movie and have that feeling of being scared and not really having somebody breaking into my house in real life or something like that. You know what I mean?
It is a very goofy movie to watch now as an adult, but if you ever get a chance, and I would say with your son, watch that movie Krull. Even at this time, you'll see something and be like, wow, that's a special movie. Like, it'll blow your mind a little bit. And you got to appreciate the technology and the special effects they had in the 80s. And the score is awesome. It's done by the London Symphony Orchestra. It was up there with like John Williams, like those type of compositions. But there's a part, in order to get to this castle where this creature lives, they have to seek out this premonition, this fortune teller, to tell them where it is. And one of the men who can find this one woman who can tell him, this guy who was once like this prince, and he got involved with this woman. Well, when he had to go off to war, this woman had his son, and out of revenge, because he left her, she kills the son. And it's kind of like the Clash of the Titans. It's a classic Greek tragedy. It had that kind of makings, if you ever took that in college, about certain components should be in these stories. And it was a tragedy because she killed their son. And so for her punishment was that she was put in this big cave and she was kept there as a prisoner by this spider. and she's able to be encased in the spider web. As long as she stays in the spider web, the spider will never kill her, especially because she's given the sand, and the sand is an hourglass. She can only turn the hourglass once, and it keeps the spider at bay. So basically the sand is the sand of her life. And this guy who used to be in love with her, who remembered her, what she looked like, goes to seek her help because he knows that she has the ability, even though she was stricken with this punishment, of also being able to tell the future. So she can tell where this castle is going to be the next day, because every day it moves, and that's the way the creature survives. And it goes from planet to planet, destroying everything. So it takes this guy and his family, and he wakes up, and this guy comes to him at the castle and tells him how he can save his world by them going to find this special weapon. But they have to find this creature. And so they go to this woman who the old man used to be with, and he reveals that he was this prince that left this woman. You don't realize this until he gets there. And he goes into the cave, and he finds this woman, and she's all gross looking, really weird. I mean, it would freak you out as a kid, but I was so captivated when I was like 4 years old to this. And he starts talking to her, and he says, you know, there's this girl that was taken by this creature, and her name is Alyssa, and it's the same name as this person. Again, classic Greek tragedy. And he says, if you don't help me, the woman who bears your name will suffer a similar fate in a dark, cold place, and she'll die like that. And he convinces her. She says, how can you come to me when I killed your only son? And that's when you find out about the story, because until this, you don't know. You're just listening to their dialogue. That's how well the story is written. And he says, I've already forgiven you. I could not forgive myself for leaving you. And she says, how can you forgive the woman that killed your son? And he looks at her, and when he says, I forgive you, her face goes from this decrepit, old, weird-looking thing to the way he saw her when she was beautiful. And she says, you've given me this ability to see past my own evil. And the reason it happens and her face changes is because he says he forgave her. She says, I can tell you when the castle's where it's going to be in the morning, but the information is no good to you because you can only get in here once. Once you leave, the spider will kill you. She says, there's only one way you can get out of here, to give your friends this message. The friends wanted to come with him, but it was too dangerous. He had to go alone. And she breaks the hourglass, and she pours the sand into his hands, and he's trying to capture it. She says, these are the sands of my life that I'm giving you. I give them to the woman who bears my name so you can save her, so she doesn't suffer my fate. And he says, I can't stop. It's falling through my fingers. And she says, you can't stop time. And so he tries to get out of this spider web, and he's crawling, and the whole time the spider, you see this, and dude, when you're a kid and you see this spider, like, holy shit, that spider is big, dude. And it's this big white spider, and it comes after him, and he holds the sand up to the spider, and just some's falling out, and the spider stops, and he barely makes it out of there. And then he turns around, and the spider goes, and it kills her. And he makes it just enough in time, but because of this cave he had been in, he's dying. So he yells to all the men just as he gets there where this castle is going to be the next morning. And he falls off the cliff. And when they find him, he's dying, and he's holding the sand in his hand. And he says, you have to save Alyssa. And then he dies, dude. And when you're watching, and I just told you one small scene because there's a bunch of parts like that. You will not be disappointed, dude, with this movie. It is so badass. So you got to watch it with your son, dude.
I always am worried about when I show a movie to my kid, because when you watch it the first time, you're like, I want to show my kid. And some hit with them and some don't. And I think a lot of it is I will say my kid watches a lot of videos. I think it's part of their generation coming around. They watch a lot of just real quick videos. So if it doesn't grab their attention, they'll just kind of like, I got to go to the bathroom. And then you won't see them. Like, hey, where did you go? Oh, I just,
Dude, that happened with me with my daughters in Back to the Future, dude. Wow, I was like, what the hell?
Oh my God.
Like, how do you not like this movie,
no
man?
doubt, dude. That's a classic.
Oh, I was so disappointed, dude.
That's so. I remember liking that movie too, especially the original.
Yeah. But these kids nowadays, I mean, it kind of goes slow a little bit to start, like
they're
the first
building the
one.
story up.
They're building the story up, and that's just, I'm out, It's like, jeez.
Give it a chance.
Yeah. Well, we gave everybody a chance to listen to us for an hour and some minutes.
Those poor bastards.
You guys really went on and on this time, boy. That's one of our longest recordings. I hope people enjoy.
Well, we did have a 15-minute
sound check
synopsis of the Kroll movie in there.
Ouch. That's what I get for trying to share some culture with you guys. Son of a bitches.
You lying son of a bitch.
And with that, once again, I was just hoping we get through this episode without anybody's feelings getting hurt. But unfortunately, this time it was mine.
Yeah. We made it.
You're welcome.
So thanks for tuning in and being a patron of Heroes of Humility. We hope you stay cool by being kind. And this is Pierce signing off with
Beige.
Red.
Adios. If you'd like to support the show, give us some positive feedback. We'd appreciate it. Try to get back to a schedule of every 2 weeks, but thanks for sticking with us. Things have just been busy. You can also find us on Instagram and Facebook. If you want to connect, you could also send us a message at dealwithit@heroesofhumility.com. Sometimes we get a lot of traffic there, so bear with us. Also, stay tuned. On the horizon at some point, we will be going to video, where you can also find us on YouTube, along with any major podcast streamer. Okay, that's enough. It's over. Be back ASAP.